Story appears ordinary until you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News. I am Frank Amalape in our major story. Nigeria Army Boko Haram militants engage in fierce gun battle in Gambarui, Borno State. Also, in this program, military authorities says presence of Nigerian soldiers in Cameroon tactical. Doctors resume work after suspension of the almost 2-month-old strike. Outside Nigeria now, Gaza residents call for truce between Israel and Hamas in peaceful demonstration. Thank you for joining us tonight. Here are the details of the headlines news. The Cameroon's army says some 480 Nigerian soldiers have fled into the country following fierce fighting between Boko Haram militants. Cameroon's army spokesman Didier Badjet says the soldiers have been disarmed and are being accommodated in schools. Clashes are said to be continuing in the border town of Gambarungala in Borno State. Boko Haram on Sunday released a video in which it said it has established an Islamic state in the towns and villages it controls in northeastern Nigeria. The defense authorities in a related issue explained that Nigerian troops crossed over to the Cameroonian side of the border during the battle between insurgents while making a tactical maneuver. In a statement on official website of Nigerian Military Defense info.mli.ng stated that Nigerian troops had to submit their weapons to the Cameroonian authorities to show that they were not on any offensive against the country in line with standard practice. It added that the troops were on their way to Nigeria after the matter was sorted out by the authorities of both countries. The statement added that it was wrong to describe the presence of the soldiers in Cameroon as defection in view of discussions between the military leaderships of Nigeria and Cameroon and contacts made with the soldiers about their safety. The statement added that troops encountered a group of insurgents who were attempting to enter the country through Gambarungala in a gun battle and were still in pursuit of them. The Christian Association of Nigeria is not comfortable with Boko Haram's recent declaration of an Islamic caliphate in northeast Nigeria. It describes the situation as serious and wants the federal government to stop treating the insurgents with kid gloves. Secretary General of the association, Musa Ashake, told journalists in Abuja that immediate action is needed to reclaim the annexed territories. The report.
The umbrella body of Christians in Nigeria has always been opposed to Boko Haram and had been in the forefront of efforts to have it designated as a terrorist group. That was long before the federal government and the U.S. authorities made that move. And now that the insurgents claimed to have seized a part of Nigeria, Khan says its fears have been proved right.
Khan has been crying out. You have listened to Khan president. He has spoken over and over. Some have misunderstood him. But all that the Khan president has said all over the years has now come to be true. You know, he did not come out to say, I'm a prophet. But he warned, he advised, he said, we are not heading the right direction. This thing is not going to be good for us. So The wars are there. It has been fulfilled.
It is convinced that the government could stop the insurgents if it shows some seriousness.
I think the federal government should wake up. Nigerians are tired, and we're getting to a point where these bloodsuckers are trying to claim that there are some people that they are above the law. They are not above the law. I ask the federal government, I request, I plead, enough of the bloodshed.
Khan also had a piece of advice for Nigerian leaders and people in government.
And I can also quote at this very moment a German pastor, Pastor Martin Neuler, who supported Hitler when he was doing those things and never spoke. But when he was about to speak, it was late. Many people have been killed. And that's why he wrote the famous poem that he said, when they came for the industrialists, I did not speak out because I was not an industrialist. When they came for the socialists, I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. When they came for the Jews, I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. But when they came for me, there was nobody left to speak for me. Let that message go to our leaders in Nigeria.
For now, the Christian body says it is concerned about the fate of Nigerians living in the area designated as Islamic Caliphate who may not support Boko Haram's ideology.
Residents of the Federal Capital Territory want the government to take every necessary steps to reclaim part of the country designated by Boko Haram as Islamic Caliphate. Some of them believe that the insurgents will have long been defeated if the people in the affected areas provided adequate and prompt information to security agencies. Pius Samuel has more from the streets of Abuja.
After recent incursion into some parts of Borno State, Boko Haram at the weekend declared that it has set up an Islamic Caliphate in Goza. There is an anger on the streets of Abuja, even though a cross-section of Nigerians have continued to condemn what they described as an empty threat to the unity of the country. This man says nothing will split the country as Nigeria is bigger than any terrorist group.
But I don't think that will be possible in Nigeria. As we all know, over the years, Nigeria has been an entity. So no group or no religion, no set of people can just emanate from somewhere, from nowhere, and say they want to have this country divided. It's not possible. Nigeria is one, as we all know. To some extent, government is actually doing enough. And if you have enemies, and the enemy want to make sure that what you are doing, he want to make sure people are seeing nothing from what you are doing. It's like trying to frustrate your effort. So I want government to be courageous and to continue the very way they are doing.
For this youth corps member, it is not possible for Boko Haram to take over any parts of the country.
Yes, I heard of it. I don't know. They are just too stupid, because how can they have their own country? It's not it at all. They are insane. Okay. They are insane. And if government can put a stop to that, it's very good, because their power should not overshadow us. We should overshadow them. Okay. Because few people cannot just stand up and overshadow so millions of people. It doesn't worth it.
Until recently, Nigeria had been largely peaceful, and this young man believes that it's time for the citizens and the leadership to put the country first.
We allow this problem to reach up to this level. I think it's because of negligence. It's time for everyone to come together so that we're able to fight this thing to a standstill. Nigeria, over the years, we are not known to be this. I mean, it's so surprising that these have reached up to this level. And if nothing is being done about it, these gangs will likely advance to another level.
For many Abuja residents, the Boko Haram insurgency has entered a new phase with the declaration of an Islamic Caliphate. They now want to see decisive step from the government to finally put an end to the long-drawn insurgency. Pius Samuel, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has refused to extend the deadline for the second phase of the continuous voter registration. This is in spite of agitations in some quarters for extension of the days set aside for the exercise in the FCT and 11 other states. Annex says in a statement by its spokesman, Kayode Edo, that it is logically impossible to extend this phase of the exercise beyond the August 2025 deadline. The Commission, however, plans to set up registration points soon at 8 local government area offices where people who have yet to register can go. INEC also claimed that the people bent on engaging in multiple registrations were largely responsible for the crowd clusters at registration points for continuous voter registration. You're watching CoreTV Primetime News. After the break, Nigerian doctors resume work after suspension of almost 2 months old strike. Find out more after this timeout. Stay with us.
I'm so happy every day because I'm healthy and strong. Playing, jumping, here I go. Scott's Emotion helps me grow.
A daily dose of Scott's Emotion, which combines omega-3, calcium, vitamins A and D, supports the healthy development of your child's brain and body. Scott's Emotion promotes active minds and strong immunity in growing children. New Scott's Orange Flavor Multivitamin Emotion.
Nivea Nourishing Body Lotion. Its effective formula with Hydro IQ gives your skin deep and long-lasting nourishment for skin that stays moisturized all day long. Look great, feel great, with deeply nourished skin. Nourishing Body Lotion from Nivea.
In case you're just joining us, this is CoreTV Primetime News. Doctors are back at work in Abuja, even though the government has not yet withdrawn the circular suspending presidency training in federal hospitals. A visit to the National Hospital, however, showed that not all the doctors have resumed. The leadership of the Nigerian Medical Association, however, says the doctors have no reason to be absent from work.
We had immediate term, medium term and long term demands. So of the immediate and the medium term demands, most of them have been met satisfactorily, and that's why we're calling off this strike. We'll continue negotiation. We're suspending the strike, not calling it off. We'll continue negotiation with the government because that was part of the agreement. Now we're calling off because we are dealing with lives. So we'll start work, being a suspension, and we'll continue negotiation and hope that very soon all our demands would be met.
As usual, we started receiving some patients in National Hospital, and since the consultants and the other doctors, I talk about the house officers and medical officers are working, I'm sure normal services will resume. And of course, another thing we are talking about is the resident doctors, which you're all aware that the federal government has given a directive that the resident doctors' training is on suspension. I think it's part of what the enemy is looking at, that the government should at least reconsider this issue, since the national body of NMA has always been directives that they should all come back to work.
Though the Nigerian Medical Association has suspended its almost 2-month-old strike, doctors at the Ladoke Akitola University Teaching Hospital in Oshogbo, they could rescind their decision to resume work if the conditions agreed upon are not met by the federal government. Rashid reports that activities have picked up at the hospital, but the doctor's warning at this time is too cold for comfort. The report.
For almost 2 months, while Nigerian Medical Association strike lasted, This bubbling doctor's lounge of the Lautech Teaching Hospital was a shadow of itself. The story has, however, changed since the announcement of the suspension of the strike. Chairman of Medical and Dental Consultant Association of Nigeria in Lautech, Adebayo Kozim, says the doctors are set to swing to action following the suspension of the strike.
In Lautech teachers, like you have seen, as mentioned, you can see a lot of vehicular and people moving up and down, which shows that we are ready to obey the directive of our national body, which is the NMA. And each head of department is meeting with their staff to work out a modality in which there will be immediate takeover of active health delivery to the populace.
One of the interesting drama which ensued during the strike was the suspension of residency program and sack of resident doctors, which was later denied by the federal government. The resident doctors in Lautech say even though they are back to work, but they still have issues to grind with the federal government regarding the residency program.
Duty post and work is going on. According to the Minister of Health yesterday, he said within 24 hours, the suspension on residency program will be lifted, and the national president of NME also talked in the press interview yesterday night. He said within 24 hours it will be addressed. So we are hoping to get a positive response from the federal government as said by the Senate President.
The doctors are, however, sending a strong warning to the federal government over the times reached in suspension of the strike.
We won't just jump at the go and resume, because at this era when we're talking about a lot of fear of Ebola in our country, in which the disease option is also not immune to an attack, which we pray it will not happen, because we need to prepare for it.
It's just a grammatical expression, suspension. That means it's conditional. If they're able to meet that condition, well, it becomes permanent. Otherwise, well, it's like hanging a strike. You can still go back and just commence the strike again, which I hope I will not get to that extent again.
The reality on ground at the moment is that Nigerians can now heave a sigh of relief and strongly hope that this will be the last strike to be experienced in the health sector. Rashid, CoreTV News, Oshogo.
Meanwhile, the story is not different in Lagos as doctors resumed work, but with a call to the federal government to keep its side of the bargain. Anita Fatiji has more in this report.
Chairman of the Lagos branch of the Nigerian Medical Association says, though they are relieved to be back at work, the federal government should live up to expectation and reverse the dismissal of 16,000 doctors.
The strike action has been suspended, not called off really. In the sense that the Senate President, General David Mark, retired, actually, stood as a guarantor, and of course, saying that, well, we should trust the federal government, that the sack of the 16,000 resident doctors will be reversed, and also appealing on the state of the health situation, the issue of Ebola and all that. Well, of course, we believe that the government will keep their own part of the agreement, okay, and get the resident doctors reinstated, because that had not been done as at the time that the strike was suspended. And you also know that there's no way the teaching hospitals will run without these residents.
NME has suspended the strike, there's no doubt about that. And we expect work, and even if you suspend the strike, work, it takes some time before you reach, it's a momentum you build gradually. And but the teaching hospitals are peculiar. If you go to a general hospital now, before the end of today, you can see that most of their work will have been restored properly. But teaching hospital is peculiar. Teaching hospital cannot function without resident doctors. You see, there can be skeletal services. Consultant can work with house officers, rendering some skeletal services. But the bulk of the doctors in the teaching hospital are the resident doctors. So when you have sacked this bulk, how do you want the work to go on now? It's just common logic.
For his part, the Lagos NMA Publicity Secretary Ibrahim Ogunbi wants the federal government to formalize all agreements reached with the doctors in order to save healthcare delivery in Nigeria.
We are so sure that they will be called back, and in fact, they are not calling back means that there will be no healthcare delivery in Nigeria, because as I've said, this is the backbone of the country's healthcare delivery.
They beseech the federal government to provide adequate equipment and funding for healthcare practitioners in order to curb the deadly Ebola virus. Anita Fatunji, CoreTV News, Lagos.
One of the confirmed Ebola patients in Nigeria is ready to be discharged any moment from now. The health authorities say the patient will be allowed to leave the isolation ward after necessary protocols. If eventually discharged, it will bring the number of patients successfully treated to 6. Also, the Ministry of Health has reviewed the number of confirmed cases in Nigeria from 14 to 13. Its explanation is that the 14th case initially announced as positive turned out to be false. It, however, added that the number of deaths due to Ebola virus, including the index case, remains 5. The Southwest leadership of the National Association of Nigerian Students have appealed to Governor Babatude Fashola to prevail on the management of Lagos State University to stop victimizing students of the school over their role in the protest, leading to the reversal of tuition fees. The student union leaders made the appeal during a courtesy visit to the governor. Abiola Aluwale was there. His report is presented from our studios.
Following the recent reversal of the Lagos State University tuition fees to 25,000 naira by Fashola, leaders of the National Association of Nigerian Students from Southwest Nigeria came on a thank-you visit to the governor. After acknowledging the stride of the state in the education sector, the leadership of the Students Association called on Fashola to prevail over the management of LASU to stop the victimization of students over their roles and actions that led to the reversal of the tuition fees.
I want this opportunity to also tell the governor to prevail on the management of Lagos State University, because some students are still on the Senate panel because they protested on these school fees. One of them is Adeyemi Onikoro, another one was not allowed to go for his NYSC, in person of Ogungbo Moruf, because he participated in this school fees issue. So we want the governor to use his good offices to prevail on Professor Bafunwa to release this gentleman to go for his NYSC since the fee has been reduced by His Excellency.
I want to call on to help us call the peculiar move to reopen that university before students will use the third C and later. But we believe in consolidation.
Responding to the students, Fashola says the need to ensure quality education for every citizen informed the initial upward review in LASU fees as proposed by the visitation panel. He added that over 11 billion naira has been invested in infrastructure in LASU. On the closure of Olabisi Onabanjo University, Fashola admonished students to always seek peaceful ways of resolving challenges.
Let me remind you that this is a federation of diverse opportunities and diverse capacities. You must always remember that. Our capacities are different. And so what Ogun State can do, I may not be able to do it in some areas. What I can do, Kaduna State may not be able to do it.
The visit ended with a presentation of certificates of performance to Fashola by the students.
Nigeria has launched what government officials say is the biggest silo in Africa. The silo is located in Kwale on the outskirts of Abuja and has 100,000 ton capacity. Vice President Amadi Sambo represented President Goodluck Jonathan at the inauguration ceremony and assured Nigerians that the administration is committed to ensuring food security for his part. Minister of Agriculture Akiwumi Additional says 11 other silos are under construction nationwide and will be ready in December.
On this occasion of the commissioning of the 100,000 metric ton silo at Sheda, Federal Capital Territory, and the flag off of the agricultural equipment hiring centers in Nigeria. Our country has huge agricultural potentials. But talking about those potentials is not enough. We are working very hard to unlock those potentials to make agriculture a business that will create wealth for millions of Nigerians. I tasked the Minister of Agriculture to drive the process to ensure that we meet the goal, and in doing so, also modernize our agricultural system. I'm very pleased that the agricultural transformation agenda is working well and achieving great strides in our drive to turn Nigeria into a food self-sufficient country.
Today, as you are commissioning the largest silo in West Africa, it's another indication of tremendous leadership. And as we are flagging off a fully private sector-driven mechanization program, it's another first in Africa. One can only imagine if our farmers could produce an additional 21 million metric tons of food just between 2012 and 2014 without tractors and mechanized equipment. They will definitely feed the world if they have a fully mechanized agricultural system.
This is CoreTV Primetime News. We'll take another break. Business news return shortly with Sabina Izupu. Stay with us.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then news. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Nigerians continue to travel the city of Lagos.
There is still a poor level of
Be the first to know. From the north, south, east, west, and around Africa, we break the news.
one Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are CoreTV News.
Welcome to CoreTV,
a 24-hour news station.
Welcome you to From the Ivory Tower and happenings around the country. Varsity teachers get to air their views. Students are actually not left out. We bring you intellectual ends from the events happening around you. It is dedicated to educating the populace with a spice of entertainment.
From the Ivory Tower, Tuesdays, only on CoreTV News.
Hello there and welcome to Business News with me, Sabina Izupu. The Naira eased against U.S. currency on Monday with last week's move by J.P. Morgan to include the country's 10-year bond in one of its indexes, failing to stimulate strong dollar inflows. The Nigerian currency closed at 162.07 Naira to a dollar, compared with Friday's close of 161.98 Naira. The same level it closed on Thursday prior to J.P. Morgan's announcement. The 2024 bond is due to be added to J.P. Morgan's government bond index, emerging markets, on the 29th of August, in addition to 5 other bonds already listed, potentially triggering more offshore interest. But dealers say local bond trading was muted on Monday due to a holiday in Britain, where a number of foreign investors who trade Nigerian debts are based. Yields on 2024 bond climbed to 11.99% as against 11.92% on Friday. The Nigerian Bureau of Statistics Monday says it will delay the release of Nigerian second quarter gross domestic product data by a week because of a backlog of work caused by rebasing exercise. Though the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics does not always keep to a precise schedule. With data releases, the gross domestic product data is scheduled for release 45 days after the end of each quarter. The rebasing almost doubles the size of the country's economy to $510 billion, making Nigeria Africa's biggest economy, surpassing South Africa. Stockbrokers and other operators are considering merging and acquiring the new capital base as alternative plans to ward off the threat of liquidation. The Security and Exchange Commission (SEC) had announced major increases in minimum capital requirements for capital market functions under a new minimum capital structure that is expected to take off on the 1st of January 2015. On the 19th of December 2013, the Security and Exchange Commission issued a new guideline which increased capital requirement for a broker and dealer by 329% from 70 million naira to 300 million naira. For a broker who operates with capital base of 40 million naira, he or she will be required to have 200 million naira, an increase of 400%. Minimum capital base for dealer increased by 233% from 30 million naira to 100 million naira. Also, issuing houses, which facilitate new issues on the primary market, will be required to have minimum capital base of 200 million naira as against 150 million naira. The capital requirement for underwriters also doubled from 100 million naira to 200 million naira. Trustees, rating agencies, portfolio and fund managers, minimum capital base increased by 650% each. A register will have a minimum capital base of 150 million naira as against requirements of 50 million naira, while the minimum capital base for corporate investment advisor remained unchanged at 5 million naira. Individual investment advisor will have to increase the capital base by 300% from 500,000 to 2 million naira. All efforts to meet the new minimum capital base have not materialized, as every effort to do so since 2004 has not yielded fruits. The Director General of the Commission, Aruma Ote, says there was a need for operators in the capital market to be well recapitalized in order to meet global competitiveness. There will be no going back. Decisions have been made as dealers, brokers are expected to meet with the deadline, December 31st, 2014. And on the stock market report, the equity transaction on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange ended on a negative note today. The Nigerian Stock Exchange All Shares Index depreciated by 224.71 points to close lower at 41,339.48 basis points. Market capitalization decreased by -0.54% to close lower at 13.65 trillion naira. In all, a total of 156.67 million shares valued at 1.49 billion naira were exchanged in 3,958 deals. Report shows that Total PLC topped the gainers chart, followed by 40 Oil, Can Oil PLC, MRS, and Red Starek. On the other hand, Nigerian Breweries PLC led the losers chart, followed by Dangote Cement, Mobi PLC, Ashaka Cement PLC, and Owando PLC. Meanwhile, here are the top 5 trades. And that's it on business news. Coming up next is sport news with Brownson Uwana, who's standing by to give you all the details. Stay with us.
Our style, that's what he delivered. Here's that ball storming, Toyo with a flying lead.
Bo taking him out in the later minute.
Very big thanks for joining us on Sport News tonight. I am Brownson Uwana. The General Assembly of the Nigerian Football Federation will meet in Abuja on Tuesday to draw up a roadmap leading to the conduct of the elections. The decision came after a serious disagreement over a schedule as the sports minister had asked that the election be held same day with the General Assembly. The General Assembly, which was earlier scheduled for Warri, Delta State, will now be in Abuja, with which chairman and secretaries of the Football Association of 36 states and the FCT in attendance. NFF Secretary General Musa Hamadu explained that a 3-hour meeting with the Secretary General of the Government of the Federation, Senator Ayim Payozayim, resolved that the NFF fashioned a roadmap that will usher in a new government for the Nigerian Football Federation. And away from that, Nigerian Asisat Oshola has won the Golden Ball Award for the best player of the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in Canada. France midfielder Greg Mbok Batty was awarded the silver ball, while her compatriot Clara Lovez got the bronze ball winner. Paulina Bremer of Germany scooped the silver boot with 5 goals and 5 assists for her credit. Another German, Sarah Beretz, scored 5 goals with 2 assists to win the bronze boot. German goalkeeper Mikael Kamper won the Golden Glove Award as Canada took the Fair Play Award. And now to the EPL news. Italian striker Mario Balotelli has completed his £16 million move to Liverpool. The former Manchester City player agreed a long-term deal with the Merseyside side. Balotelli left City, for whom he scored 30 goals in 3 seasons just 17 months ago. Liverpool are understood to have sought an assurance from the Italian about his commitment off the field and in the field. Finally, on sport news tonight, in the world of golf, Tiger Woods has said he will no longer be working with coach Shane Foley. The former world number 1, currently sidelined with back injury, spent 4 years with Foley but had not added to his 14 major titles in that period. Woods returns to the top of the rankings in 2013 but has been deposed after a best finish of 25th this year. And that's a wrap on Sport News tonight. My name is Brownson Uwana. Frank Omalape will be back with foreign news. Stay with us.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website, www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. And Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Thank you, Bransuwana and Sabena, for sport and news. We're still watching CoreTV Primetime News. Now, outside Nigeria, Israeli airstrikes have continued on the Palestinian territory of Gaza in continuation of what the Prime Minister called Operation Protective Edge in response to rocket fire from Islamic militants in the territory. 8 people were killed in Gaza on Monday just as efforts continue by Egypt to find a truce that will help in opening of border crossing at Erez and Kiryat Shalom for humanitarian aid, which Israel says it's willing to increase. The Rafah, according to Yaakov Ferry, the Israeli science minister, is down to Egypt, which controls the crossing. While all these frantic efforts aim at bringing peace to the war-ravaged territory continues, residents continue to count their losses with the death of a 14-year-old boy from wounds sustained earlier, while 8 others also died and buildings destroyed. Ahmad al-Dabouz, owner of one of the destroyed buildings in the territory, expressed surprise on the destruction of his family, wondering why he deserves the fate. As the crisis in Gaza continues with Israeli airstrikes and rocket fire from militants in the territory, Palestinians in Gaza have rallied for peace. The rally, led by Khaled al-Khatib of the Palestinian Fida Party, is to garner support for peace negotiations, which are to put in place a truce which collapsed on the 19th of August. The truce deal, which was negotiated by Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, collapsed, and moves are on to revive it as negotiators from Israel and Hamas are expected in Cairo to restart talks. The talks, which are aimed at putting in place a comprehensive peace agreement, have been confirmed by Hamas spokesman Sami Abu Zuri and Islamic Jihadi spokesman Daoud Zihab, both of who say it is dependent on Palestinian demands being met. There was no immediate response for the spokesman of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Mark Regev. Well, that's been a show tonight. On behalf of the entire news crew, I am Frank Omalape. Have a good night rest.